Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Seneca. In this episode, Sabina and I delve into the intersection of preparation and opportunity, inspired by the timeless wisdom of Seneca. We challenge the notion of settling for rejection and encourage listeners to embrace a proactive approach, particularly when facing unemployment. How can one treat the job search as a project? Tune in to discover actionable strategies and insights. I forgot the quote. Now I'm going to have to find it for the show notes, but it was something about, luck is really you being a part of it, right? It's
Mhm.
like being in the right atmosphere or the right environment, but it's also based on the relationships that you made. I'm gonna have to find that quote because I think it is pretty profound about luck is being prepared, right?
Yeah.
For that unexpected. It's like you've set the stage. It's not just that it like found you. Like when I talk about my University of Maryland and becoming an adjunct faculty, people reach out to me all the time, like, how did you do that? I'm like, this was a 10-year journey. Like, I remember the first time I asked somebody, I'd love to be adjunct faculty, and she shot me down. This was at a different university. She's like, oh, you don't have your PhD and da 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 da. And I was like, I'll show you. And I ended up becoming adjunct faculty at a community college. Love community colleges. I don't think they get enough credit for the kind of that bridge in between going to 4-year schools. But and then what we had talked about before, just showing up at our alma mater or the university or what have you, and just being consistent and consistently kind. And if this is in your interest in the people you want to network with anyway, I had no idea that that would happen. But if you were to kind of like not know all the things that I did,
Mhm.
it would seem like luck. But I had prepared myself, not so much of getting that opportunity with the university, but maybe the opportunity of networking with people at their companies, or maybe if there was a job that came up. So it's definitely something for us to take ownership. And it really is about, kind of what you were talking about, like
Yeah.
of being prepared.
I wanna go back to your "no," though, that
Hmm.
naysayer.
Hmm.
We so often, and I'm very guilty of this, when we hear "no," we kind of agree with that.
Mm.
And I know that in my younger days, when I heard "no," I took that very much to heart, and I would completely drop something.
Mm.
And I have learned much later in life that that "no" is in itself feedback, and it might mean not this institution, not this moment.
Yeah.
And I think even with interviews, if you get that no response on an application, it doesn't necessarily mean no. You have to look at it and say, do I need to go at this from another path? Do I need to gain some more information before I continue? Do I just need to ignore this person and try harder?
Right.
I think that we hear no and it immediately, especially when we're out of work, we're like, "Ugh, sure, of course not." And we accept it. I'm not saying necessarily fight it, but I think examining the no and what's behind it
Hmm.
and seeing, do I need to, I'll use the word pivot and change something, or
The big weird
yeah,
2020.
the big word, the awful word that we are sick of. But then also all right, do I need to try something different? Do I need to try on a different day? And I had this happen to me in my first learning job. I applied to a company. I was not a fit for the job I applied for. The recruiter liked me. I She put me up for another job. I didn't get that one. Over a year later, same recruiter called me and
Mm.
said, "We have a job. I think it's yours." It was not in an area that I worked at. I even thought about working. She's like, "Just meet the vice president, let them interview you." And within 2 weeks I was working there and it changed my life.
Wow.
And the 2 opportunities were not for me. I did extremely well in that 3rd opportunity. Sometimes time, sometimes skill. Do not be satisfied with the no.
Yes. And that's a tip that I got from my sales coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, people might ignore you. We love you saying they're ghosting. I mean, when I look at my inbox, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to respond to this person. And I really do try to give people grace. So I email again. And what he said to me, keep emailing until they say, stop emailing me. Like, let that like be your, okay, maybe I don't need to talk to this person anymore, but there's, like you said, maybe there's a workaround. If it's truly the opportunity or truly the company, truly what you want to do, I wouldn't let it be. I wouldn't let that no stop you. Because just think about how many times people would not have moved forward in
And
accomplishing some of the big
yes,
things when it looked like it was impossible for them to be who they are today.
and that goes back to resilience. The
Mm-hmm.
resilience is you knowing who you are, what you can do, and having that faith and being okay with the no, and then going on to creating your own opportunity or continuing with your dream, what you want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I have this question because it was coming up. You knew it was. In true project management fashion,
Mm-hmm.
how do you think listeners who are in this situation of unemployment, how should they approach unemployment like a project? What are kind of the one, two, three, blah, blah, blah steps that they should do?
I love this question because I am a hyper organized individual. It sometimes gets the better of me. Uh, and I feel often when you lose your job, all of that emotion, that fear comes flooding in, and you make these choices ad hoc. And what I love about project management is it starts with a plan, an objective,
Mm-hmm.
and a plan. And you could probably still achieve the objective without the plan, but it is so much better, smoother, easier, less costly if you have that plan. So I do think you have to step back. We know the plan is to get a job. What job? What organization? And how will you sustain yourself in the meantime? And before you jump in, are all your tools ready? Are all of your job search tools up to date? The number of times a client signs with me and immediately wants to start applying for work, I'm like, no, we have to write a resume. And they're like, no, I'm seeing jobs now. I'm like, but you're using this ineffective tool, this ineffective resume. You're
Right.
not going to get a good result. They don't, it's a really hard discussion to have. You have to be ready before you implement. To me, that's just like one of the core things of project management, and knowing that it is not a I found this very hard when I started running projects. I am definitely a person who's kind of linear, like step by step by step. Job search is not like that. Unemployment
Mm-hmm.
is not like that. It is swim lanes. And I have people all the time like, what do you mean by that? Like, this is the hard part. Everything is going at once. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to, that Gantt chart of, okay, so what's today? And today is job search day. But tomorrow is, maybe self-care day or something like that. And what do I have to do to make sure I've got everything together? And then do I have to revise my strategy? Do I have to revise my plan? Has a milestone changed? You have to go through unemployment very mindfully. It is not, you get too often, I see people get obsessed, and I get it, with getting the job.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the folks who have a hard time transitioning back to work because they haven't healed from the trauma. Their house is in disarray. And I don't mean literally, I mean their finances are askew. They haven't kept up with doctor's appointments. Sometimes I had somebody call me up. Luckily, they were local. They got a job. They called me up kind of upset. They're like, I'm starting work today. I forgot that my kid needs to go to daycare. In getting ready
Uh-oh.
for work, I had forgotten that big piece.
Oh my
What do I
gosh.
do? And I'm like, okay, let's figure this out. And we figured something out for them. And they're like, how could I not have known that? And I'm like, because you were focused on first day of work and getting your car together, and you were used to a whole different life before the job.
Wow.
And they were like, I love my child. I'm like, I get it. It's okay. I've seen some stuff. And that constantly being mindful of maintaining yourself, I think it's a great practice to be in when you go back to work, because now you are first, not your job. You're not enmeshed anymore. I think project management is a great way to do that
Mm-hmm.
because of all of these tenets of re-strategizing, taking a look at the plan. Is it still working and meeting the objective? What do we need to change? Do we have the tools? Are we building the relationships with people? I mean, maybe you and I should write a book on Project Plan Your Unemployment,
I
uh,
love it.
because it can save you.
Hmm. And it's interesting because with the title of your book, there is a methodology in project management
Mhm.
called Agile. And I think some project managers are like, oh, what do we need to do? But I think some of what you're talking about is, in Agile, we do our work in short sprints. So like with some of the things that you share with me and the listeners, like doing it like in a day sprint, like this is what I'm going to do to like, just look up my top favorite jobs and just find those
Yeah.
and then rest, right? And then the next day, I'm going to apply of the 10 list of those jobs, I'm going to apply to 3 because it's work, right?
Oh
Crafting the
my
cover
gosh.
letter and then like, making sure you get the bullet points. And I'm like an hour later, I've submitted that job. So sometimes it,
Mhm.
it is, we know looking for a job is a job in and of itself. And sometimes you might
Absolutely.
have to do it in like short cycled time, like in a sprint, like I'm going to focus 2 days on this, 2 days on that. And then the
Mhm.
last 2 days are going to be just kind of tidying things up. And then my own retrospective that we'll do is my self-care day. I'm like, pat myself on the back, take a sticky
Mhm.
note and jot down my win for the week of like, I did this without cussing for a whole hour because I've done that and putting together a job a job
No,
application. It's like, can't believe they're asking me this. I'm like, this master's degree, this and that. You go through that. It's just like, I
I
didn't do
love
that.
the chunking it out
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, because it is overwhelming, and it you can't, what did they say? You can't eat the elephant all at once. It has to be
Right.
bit by bit.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which is
I
very
love that.
sadistic, by the way. Find another something else to eat. Like, and being the vegan that I am, I'm like,
Okay, so eating the orchard is one apple at a time.
there you go.
And so yeah, and I agree. Like it also, there's something to having accomplished a task every day,
Mm-hmm.
setting out and re-strategizing every day. That's another project management
Yeah.
nugget that comes out there, is strategizing your day, and like, this is what I was going to do, and then life happened
Mm-hmm.
and that plan's out the window. I think we can all relate to
Oh
that.
my gosh, can I ever
um
use that?
and so yeah, all of it is this. I think it's having a plan, I think, takes away some fear. It gives you
Mm-hmm.
that structure, and
Absolutely.
even if you are your own support system, it can be done. I am again proof of that. But having that plan, I found that was so reassuring for me. And then understanding, if my plan goes awry, it's not necessarily me.
Mm-hmm.
It is, maybe I have to go to the doctor that day, or maybe, you know, I'll get that call of like, hey, can you come in and interview today?
Yeah.
Uh, and you're like, oh yeah, I'll adjust my day for that. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, I had someone call me recently, and I gave her dates and she didn't confirm. And then she just called me out of the blue. And I'm like, who does that anymore? Like, I need it on my calendar. Like, this is, and so it kind of like interrupted my day. But, fortunately, I was able to answer those questions. But it was like, you have to
well,
plan for that too.
that's another part of resilience, is being
Mhm.
able to adapt to that curveball,
Yeah.
um, and that
Yeah.
being prepared. So,
Well, I always love to end our conversation. This is great. You and I have talked constantly, and we can go on. We can go
I
on.
know.
We might have to do a part 2 to this, but I love to end with like kind of my 2 favorite questions. One of them
Okay.
is, would you rather? So, would you rather go back 10 years with the knowledge you have now, or jump forward 10 years with twice the knowledge and experience you currently possess?
And again, I knew it was coming, and I still don't have an answer for it. Uh, I think I'd like to move forward.
I love that.
Uh, I I feel that we are in this incredibly exciting time of employment where we as individuals really are in the driver's seat, and it's
Mhm.
driven by so many things like Gen Z and millennials and the state of work and remote working. I am just, I can't wait to see what happens next. So I think I want to move forward.
Awesome. And my last question is, I want people to be able to stay in contact with you, follow you. So what are the
Oh,
best ways that people can contact you?
you can reach me on LinkedIn. You can also reach me on my website, reworkingworks.com. You can email me sulat@reworkingworks.com. And all of those things, I take inquiries. I will take one-off questions. Uh, I want to help. So reach out.
Awesome. You are helpful. You're a helpful coach, mentor, and a great friend. And I know that part of probably what will happen is a lot of the folks who will be reaching out to you will also
Mhm.
become great friends, or at least want you to be. And you're like, no, friend quota has been met.
No, there is no such
No
thing.
such thing. I knew that about you. You have such a giving heart.
um,
Well, Sabina, I appreciate your time, and we'll be in touch as always with our great conversations.
it was a pleasure. I'm so happy you asked me to do this. It's just an honor.
Awesome. I sure do hope you enjoyed that engaging discussion on turning setbacks into opportunities and navigating the job market with purpose. Our key takeaways from this episode: exploring the concept of luck through Seneca's perspective, rejecting complacency and embracing proactive measures amidst challenges, and applying project management principles to the job search process. Overall, I hope you enjoyed this entire conversation and bookmark this one, as this is probably one that is more so something we're going to listen to quite frequently. Overall, make sure you also pay attention in episode 3 for the show notes, where I provide details on how to achieve your PDUs and count them towards your credential. Thanks so much for listening.